The extent to which Joy Reid has gone off the deep end really can't be overstated, because lately, she's made some comments on Twitter that are just so idiotic that I refuse to believe that she actually thinks the things she's saying are true. I think that Joy Reid is a smart woman, and she knows what's true and what isn't true, and at this point, she's just being disingenuous and outright lying to her followers. Now, over the course of the last couple of months, there's been countless examples. I've covered some of them on the show, but she recently said something that really stood out for just how ignorant it was. So in response to a Twitter user that explained how frustrated he was with the fact that the Democratic Party establishment berates progressives for being skeptical about corporate Democrats like Kamala Harris, she responded by saying, "Dude, all candidates raise money from corporate donors. Wake up and retire this silly talking point." Did I do it well? I think the execution was spot on. Now, the statement is obviously ignorant, but there's even broader implications here, because she's lying to her followers about this, and she's essentially implying that since all candidates take corporate money, well, you shouldn't worry about a candidate's campaign contributions. So in other words, she's telling her followers that they should be ignorant and vote against their own interests. Because if you're saying that all candidates take corporate money, then you're saying, well, we don't have to worry about it. So just, if you like what they're saying, then just accept it. There's no need to question it. There's no need to be skeptical and, look at their campaign finance reports. You just should accept whoever the Democratic Party gives you. Now, as someone in the media that reaches an audience of potentially millions of people each week, she should be shining a light on the corrupting influence of money in politics, but instead, she's now doing propaganda for corrupt politicians, and she's telling her viewers that they should accept said corruption. I mean, this is a level of propaganda that we see from state-run media outlets in authoritarian countries. It's just absurd. And she's also downplaying the extent to which money in politics plagues democracy, because if she still likes and supports the Democratic Party unequivocally, which she does, even though they're taking corporate money, then the underlying implication is that money in politics actually might not be that big of an issue. Now, she didn't explicitly say that, of course, but that's the overall message that's being conveyed. But unfortunately for Joy Reid, and thankfully for the rest of us, the majority of Americans don't agree with what she's saying, because according to a 2016 Ipsos poll, they found that 72% of Americans want both political parties to reduce the influence of money in politics, and out of a range of issues, money in politics was actually the top concern for respondents in this particular poll. Now, according to a Pew poll released in late 2015, 76% of the country believes money has a greater influence on politics today than before. And these concerns are absolutely valid, and they're backed up by political science research, because a 2014 Princeton University study published by Dr. Gilens and Paige found that ordinary citizens have no impact on policy outcomes in comparison with the donor and elite class and special interests. So they found that our preferences literally had a statistically non-significant impact on policy outcomes, which led the authors to conclude, quote, "Our analyses suggest that majorities of the American public actually have little influence over the policies our government adopts. Americans do enjoy many features central to democratic governance, such as regular elections, freedom of speech and association, and a widespread, if still contested, franchise. But we believe that if policymaking is dominated by powerful business organizations and a small number of affluent Americans, then America's claim to being a democratic society are seriously threatened." So money in politics absolutely is a huge issue. It's perhaps one of the most defining issues of our time, because money in politics affects all other policy. And if anything, if all candidates really do take corporate money, like Joy Reid is asserting here, then that's all the more reason to be more skeptical of them. But she's not telling us to be more skeptical. She's actually lambasting someone who is choosing to be rightfully skeptical about someone like Kamala Harris. And the bottom line is that what she's saying is just flat out wrong. And the candidates that actually aren't corrupt, from Justice Democrats and brand new Congress, decided to respond to Joy Reid's nonsensical tweet, and I absolutely loved it. So, candidate for New York's 14th District, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, responded by saying, "Candidate for Congress here, we shouldn't normalize corporate ownership of public policy. You can run competitively without big money." And Jason Canu, a candidate challenging Marsha Blackburn in Tennessee's 7th District, chimed in, saying, "Candidate here also, and I agree. And running in Washington's 9th District, Sarah Smith replied by saying, "You can have strong representatives without the need for corporate cash. We're proof." And candidate for the 1st District of Missouri, Cori Bush stated, "I don't, not one dime." Now, in response to Cori Bush, Amy Vilela, candidate for Nevada's 4th District, stated, "Cori, they can't understand honesty in politics. That is the cornerstone of any grassroots campaign, with you in solidarity." Now, Ro Khanna stated, "If you check open secrets, I have not taken a dime of corporate PAC money." Now, after getting some pushback from true progressives, Joy Reid responded with what she probably thought was a gotcha question by saying, "You want to end all fundraising? Tell me, how does one pay for a campaign? Voter registration and mobilization, not just ads, without money." And of course, the following responses immediately answered her question. Individual contributions. Corporations are not people and do not get a voice. Max contributions, close loopholes like what the Victory Fund used. It would force candidates to address the nation's issues instead of the big donors. And another Twitter user chimed in saying, "Not rocket science. Regulate campaigns. The French figured it out. Shorter campaigns, limits on spending, free ads on equal basis." And what she's saying is so absurd because it's been done before. In fact, just last year, Bernie Sanders proved that you don't need corporate money and a super PAC to run a successful campaign. He overcame a 60-point deficit and nearly defeated the Clinton machine in a rigged primary, and not a dime of his money came from a large multinational corporation. So all of these progressive 2018 grassroots funded candidates made a complete fool out of Joy Reid, but I don't think it's going to resonate with her at all. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if she says something even dumber in the coming weeks. But just know that she is a smart person. She doesn't believe what she's saying. She's just lying to her viewers and followers, and she's trying to deceive them because what she does is propaganda on behalf of the Democratic Party establishment. So no matter what the Democratic Party does, she's going to support them for it. She'll be there for them to back them up. So in trying to normalize corruption, she is really doing a disservice to all of her viewers, and it really makes her one of the more dangerous figures on TV because she's not just berating Bernie Sanders supporters anymore. She's now saying that corruption is fine. All candidates do it. Why are you worrying about it? Just, calm down with your purity tests. That's just wrong.
Support this podcast by joining the independent progressive media revolution today at humanistreport.com.